first game is, by the way, we're live, America. And yes, Law Dog is back in the his. He missed him. Glad he made it before we took off a vacation, little mini vacay, pending the wife's health. But we're supposed to be heading down to Surfside for the weekend. It's tomorrow night. So I wanted to get him on. He's got predictions. We get to go through that. We have by the way, we have a new Olympic sport. We're going to break that down. And also we're going to, what to do, he thought of this, was funny, I thought it was pretty good, what to do when your team is out and you're still watching this, or what do you base it on, like what keeps you interested? If you're a basketball fan, I don't think it's that difficult.
No, I'll always watch, but at the same time, sometimes.
It's like, who are you rooting for? Like, and that's a fair question. Who are you rooting for? Who am I rooting for? Who are you rooting for? I think we know who Tommy's rooting for, but we made our predictions the other night, we both had the Knicks in 7, Tommy, and we both had OKC in 6.
Okay.
He had sent out his picks. I didn't see. They're on the text. I didn't see them. But I wanted to get his take on this because it's one thing to say who and who, but I wanted to hear his reasoning why.
Yeah.
So he had the Knicks in 6. Is what you said?
Yep, I had the Knicks in 6.
So we both Tommy and I have it going 7. Why 6?
The Knicks have this vibe to me that they are like they're playing like Team Destiny. You know what I mean? Because we had talked about, like, even early on, well, you're only rotating, Tibbs will only rotating 6 or 7 guys, and, really it's 5 or 6. Yeah. You got guys like Mitchell Robinson, he was a plus 46 in the series prior. That's crazy. He's making his free throws now. Just a couple of examples of things that are just like that. We didn't see that during the regular season. We saw Brunson do his thing during the regular season a lot. He's gonna get his. Yeah. Karl Anthony Towns is playing a little more inspired lately. So just kind of, it's really the eyeball test and just seeing and knowing. Listen, I mean, I'm not one of those guys that's like Mr. Conspiracy Theory and think everything's rigged up. But let me just put it out there, and I don't think I'm thinking too differently than many people in America. I don't know that the Minnesota Timberwolves Indiana Pacers final series would be an absolute ratings juggernaut, right?
All right. Well, hold on a minute.
Yep.
Let me stop you there.
Yep.
If they're pushing Ant Edwards as the face of the league, it absolutely would be, because you want to see him. And he's very popular. In fact, his jersey sales are number 2 in the league. So he is very popular. Tim Duncan was popular.
Yeah, for sure.
The Spurs weren't a big market team.
They do like Ant Edwards, but I feel like there has been a campaign all year. Especially, I mean, SGA's played great. Let's not take anything away from him. He named the MVP today, scoring leader. I mean, he's done his thing, right?
He's the other one. So,
but I feel like he's that guy. And he's been, and it would have been.
I'm trying to figure out why Jason Tatum's not that guy. Given he's already got a ring.
They're very similar when you listen to him in interviews or at post game.
I'm trying to figure out because I think honestly, if you put the 3 of them together, Tatum's got the best game out of the 3 of them. I'll put that up against anybody. He's the most versatile. He's the best defender. He can guard the most. He's a great rebounder. He's become a great passer, and he can drop 50 on your head. I've seen him drop 50 on Giannis. I've seen him drop 50 on KD.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about Ant-Man's list. Nobody looked at Tatum's list.
See, I like SGA just a little bit better than Ant. I think Ant's got the little bit too much of the. Yeah, and he's got the insecurity thing.
By the way, he did it last night. He disappeared in the third quarter. Like we were talking about this the other night.
Yeah.
And I said, the reason I was picking Oklahoma City because Anthony Edwards has these tendencies, and I don't know what it is. He disappears for 4 or 5 minutes. But no, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And last night, on cue, he did it again.
He even disappeared in all the series so far. If you include that game, there was times where he shot terrible in Game 5 against the Lakers, right? But they Lakers somehow figured a way to lose that game.
Yeah.
And then in the next series, there were times where there were just Edwards wasn't the Ant Edwards we saw during the regular season, making threes all the time, that sort of thing. So, but listen, not taking anything away from him. If you're giving me that list, I'm probably going Tatum, SGA, and Edwards. Okay. But again, nothing. But I felt like the whole year there's been, even just watching any of the networks like SGA, man, they're really focusing on the guy.
Yes.
He's
had a great season.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's earned this. They had the best record all season. I'm not saying he's not deserving of the attention he's getting. Now the question came up. We'll get to that in a minute. But you got because you think the Knicks had this team of destiny.
Yeah, they got the big market on their side. I mean, this is a dream matchup.
A lot of shit's gone their way.
Yeah.
My thing is, the Celtics were banged up like you read about. The only way they could, and then Joe Mazzulla, I think, was on the New York payroll because how else can you explain that level of stupidity?
Yeah.
They talked about that. Now it's the Boston media is crushing Brad Stevens.
A team that got up for every time they played the Knicks all season. Right?
Buried them.
All of a sudden, like
Just loafs themselves.
Yeah, loafs themselves
Loafs
in it.
themselves.
But again, and obviously Tatum going out hurt, but those first two games, they could have been up.
They should have beat them 4-0.
They could have been up
They should have
2-1.
swept them. 2-0. Going
Yeah,
back to New York, they
right.
blew them out in game 3.
Well, I'm saying when Tatum got hurt and they were down by 9,
Yeah.
that was the one game where I thought, okay, New York earned that one for sure.
Yeah.
And again, you could say they earned both those first two games, but
Well, remember now, New York was down 14 points in the third quarter.
They were.
That game. That game.
And we always say, hey,
And-
Boston's going to give you 2. So those
Yep.
first 2, you're kind of like, all right, they gave him the 2, right? And then
Yeah, but you don't give them 2 at home right off the bat.
No,
I thought
no.
they'd give them 2 in New York.
No.
That's what I thought they would.
So again, some things have happened with New York where
Destiny.
team of destiny type of thing. So,
Or
and I
team
feel
of-
like
yeah.
the league, Adam Silver's probably like, all right, this is great. If we get the Knicks, we get Middle America, OKC, 2 teams that, I mean, if you have to go back to the Sonics, was that 78 or 76 when did they won it?
They were Dennis Johnson, 79.
79. So
They lost in 78 to
New York 73. You go back to the
lost to
70s.
Bullets.
Right,
And
right.
then
Yeah.
the rematch, they met again in 79. And Dennis Johnson in that series, no one talks
Yeah.
about this. He won the finals MVP. He averaged 20 points a game. He averaged, you ready for this? He blocked 22 shots. This is a point guard. He blocked 22 shots in 5 games.
Man.
Man, think about a point guard averaging 5 blocks a game. Like, everybody talks about Derek White, he averages 2. Dennis Johnson, like I keep saying, is the greatest defensive guard I've ever. This is why DJ was my favorite player, Graham. I modeled my game after him. 5 blocks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A game, a
Yeah.
guard in the finals.
That's huge.
That's why. Anyway, oh, by the way, he averaged 21 on the other end and 8 assists. Like, yeah, okay, and that's the guy Larry Bird says is the greatest player, and yeah, he is. So, I mean, I totally get it. But OKC New York is probably the dream matchup if you're talking ratings.
They have, and they haven't, both haven't won in a long time. There's a lot of great storylines
Well, New York
there.
hasn't won in half a century, so I mean, yeah.
Right, but if you have to go back to, say, in Oklahoma City when they were the Sonics,
That's 79.
you got to go back. So 70s, both these teams haven't won it. You got your big market, you got Middle America.
Look, Oklahoma
you know.
City has never won anything. I don't count.
Right.
See, yeah, it's like with the Lakers. I don't count what happened in Minneapolis. That was in Minneapolis.
That's
They
a
didn't
long
win-
time ago.
They didn't win 17 titles in LA. They won 12. That's it. Since they became the LA Lakers, they are a 12-time champion. The Minneapolis Lakers are a separate thing. Mm-hmm. And when they don't have those banners up there for a reason because they didn't win them there.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird when they put the Sonic stuff up in OKC.
You
It's
can't
kind
do
of
it. No.
it's like
No.
they're not even called the same thing. I mean,
No.
I can see why they do it in LA. They're saying at least kept the same name, but
They
you
should
know,
have changed the name.
Think about
the Lakers. You get the Minneapolis Lakers.
It's the same thing with the New Orleans Jazz going
Yeah.
to Utah. Like
Yeah, change the
that
name.
is also like doesn't fit. You know what I mean?
Change the name. Like,
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't get it why they didn't change the name, but the Lakers have stuck, and they have. It's them and the Celtics are the preeminent franchises in the league. So all right, so you think New York in 6 and the team of destiny. Okay, I get that.
Yep.
Now, OKC and Minnesota, you also think OKC in 6. So why are you thinking? I think 6 too.
You're gonna like this one because remember we had the conversation about the Pistons and the Knicks in the first round series, right? And you said, man, they got like 7, 8 guys averaging 10. They're rotating like 10.
They're deep.
That's it. For Oklahoma City, I mean, you got Caruso coming off deep on the bench.
Yeah.
You've got, like, they're at least 4 deep on the bench, I think.
Oh, they're 90.
Yeah, 9 deep.
Them
yeah.
and the Celtics are probably the 2 deepest teams in the league.
So I feel like that depth
Yeah.
will...
And
will
this Pacer team is not far off either. They're
Right.
They're very deep.
Pacers OKC is probably a better matchup
Well, they
for the
both play
final.
the same style.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you, that would be the fun one.
Yes, that
Because
would be...
if you want to see, that would be awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's rare that you get 2 teams like that squaring
Yeah.
off in a final.
Yeah.
For pure entertainment, that might be the better one.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
Yeah.
Like Minnesota, New York would be a knockdown, drag it out, and I like that.
There's a lot of storylines there with the
There's a lot of
trade
storylines.
and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
That's the other thing. The
Yeah,
trade.
yeah, that
Who
would be
won
great.
The trade, and that would be a great storyline. So
Yep.
I think both, whatever this ends up being, there's enough storylines.
Would
to go
take
around.
such a little bit of the shine off of SGA's MVP if he didn't make the finals at this point. You know what I mean? Because they waited until they won last night's game to announce it.
Yeah.
We all kind of knew it was going to happen after they beat
They
Denver.
had the best record all
Yeah.
year. Again, begs the question: why didn't Tatum get it last year?
Right.
And by the way, this guy has a super team, kind of like Tatum is. I mean, the problem is Jaylen Brown takes away from that. Like OKC has.
What was
no
Tatum's
one.
numbers last year?
He was 27.
That's why.
20. He was 3rd in the league in scoring.
Well, Luka was 33, 9.8, and 9.2 or something stupid like
When
that.
Larry Bird won his 3rd MVP, he didn't lead the league in scoring. In fact, Larry Bird
Yeah.
never led the league in scoring. He was 2nd twice. Okay.
Luka led the league in average, but did he score the most points? I can't remember.
It was average, I think. I don't know if he scored.
Yeah, I don't remember him winning the scoring title too.
Yeah, these idiots. That's a foul. But no, they look at to me, Magic never won when he was never the league leader in scoring. Neither was Nash.
No.
You don't have to be the league leader in scoring.
Yeah, that's
one
true.
category.
Yeah.
Tatum's also the best defensive player of the group we're talking about here with those three. So that's the other thing. This year, his rebounding and his assists went up. He had a better year this year than he did last year.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, of course.
That's probably it's the same thing when you talk about like Kobe only got one MVP, like one in 20 years. So I've always the MVP's always been sort of a
Larry Bird finished second 4 times, and I can tell you hesitation he should have.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just sometimes
Bird got
when
screwed on 2 of them. The first year that Jordan won, Bird averaged 29, 9, and 7, and he was 50, 40, 90, and they had a better record than the Bulls.
Yeah,
and Jordan won it.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Celtics went further than the Bulls.
So sometimes it can be, I feel
bullshit.
like it's a
Because
little bit of a media, like there's a little bias there.
Well, they were like, Bird already has 3, and Magic.
Well, you've heard him say it
2.
too. Like when Jokic was like going to win it again, they were like, well, I mean, he already won it. It's like, well, wait, just because you already
in the case of this, Oklahoma City was the better team.
For sure. But the year they gave it to Embiid, and it was like he just faltered in the playoffs. It was like, you know what? That was a gift.
There's no way Joel Embiid should have an MVP before Jason Tatum.
I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah. No, not taking anything away. When Joel is healthy, he's pretty damn good. He's a great player.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not. But Tatum has also been more durable. Tatum has a ring. Tatum has ousted KD. Tatum has ousted freaking Luka. Tatum has ousted a lot of people.
Prisoner of the moment too. Sometimes where if you've won a title and you've won an MVP before, it's almost like they want to give it to a guy just to be nice. Instead of, hey man, but this guy's really better. His averages are better.
His MVPs, his team was the best, at least record-wise. So if you got to be consistent.
Even in Coach of the Year, I mean, I know Bickerstaff didn't win it, but man, he should have got it. I mean, let's be honest. Like no team's ever.
I thought it was either him or it was Udoka because 2 years ago the Rockets were terrible. I mean, they were just terrible. Now then they were the 2 seed like that. And they don't have a superstar. The Rockets don't have a superstar.
They don't.
So for him to turn that program around in 2 years, you suck, McConnell. That's a foul. Call it. Yeah, you're reaching under his back. So anyway, by the way, when we're talking to you, the Donnie's going on. Game 1, Eastern Conference. New York is up 87-83, 123-7 going to the third. We will stay with you, obviously, through this game. All right, so you think OKC is deeper. I agree with that.
Yep. I think it's just simple. These
Minnesota's
games
deep though.
They're tested.
Deep.
So
they're tested.
So the best record in the league, the first round series, you know, they just took care of business, right? As they should have. Yeah. Then they went to a 7 game with a feisty Denver squad, a veteran squad.
Has 2 great players. 2.
And they took them to 7, and then what did they do? They at home, as they should have.
Yeah, they don't serve in game 1.
There was no Lofies left for OKC, right?
I don't think OKC
they did their thing.
loafed against Denver. Denver is a damn good basketball.
They are, and they took them to 7. So now they've been challenged in a series, right? So I feel like they're starting to punch the spaces on the bingo card.
Well, you got to have most teams. The Celtics were kind of the one-off. I mean, if you want to count the year before when they lost in 7 to Miami, when they came back from 3-0 and Tatum went down. The first five seconds of that game in Game 7, who knows what would have happened, but. If you want to go there, I mean, the Celtics weren't, but they haven't been challenged since then until the Knicks series when they gave it to them on a silver plate.
Well, and when you looked at the regular season too, when OKC played Boston, I mean, they played them tough, right? So
Boston wasn't healthy in either game.
Got it, but they were still defending champions, right? So
they were,
I mean, you got to play tough.
I think the problem with the Celtics was they were in cruise control pretty much from January on.
Yeah.
Because they were like, all we have to do is get one. Because they were the best road team. They had the best road record in the NBA. That includes Oklahoma City. So Boston's thinking was just get in the dance. And by the way, that was arrogant, and they shouldn't have thought that way.
Yeah.
And it cost them. For being honest, it cost them. Because honestly, if the Pacers weren't going to present the challenges that I believe that the Knicks could pose to them, number one. Number two, again, we said this came down to hell. The moment Porzingis walked off the floor and he couldn't breathe, I knew they had a problem.
That's still going on too. I read something about that today, where they don't know what's going on with him. So that's very concerning.
And the Celtics have to get under the second apron, and he's the most logical choice to move because he has an expiring contract. But who wants this guy? They don't even know if he's healthy.
Right.
So they probably can't even move him. They're probably going to have to move Holiday, and Holiday's 35. How are you going to move him?
Yeah.
They're going to push to get the I know what's happening here, and no one's talking about it yet.
The Cooper Flag stuff? You think so, or?
No.
I was just trying to guess.
I just think that the teams are waiting it out because people want Jaylen Brown. Mm-hmm. And he's the best player available. And I personally, and I love Jaylen Brown, but I don't love Jaylen Brown at $295 million. I said the moment that contract was signed, it was a mistake.
Yeah. But do you think they'll hold on to Jaylen just in case Tatum doesn't come back 100% like he was, right?
Jaylen Brown has a problem. He's a certain type of player. He's explosive. He's athletic. He's more likely, because of his style of play, to break down long-term before Jason Tatum does. Mm-hmm. Tatum's got more of a fluidity. His game will age nicer than Jaylen Brown's will. Once Jaylen Brown loses his lift and his speed, he's done. He's done. And
who does Brad Stevens like doing deals with? I keep seeing, you see all these like
Udoka
theories.
in Houston would love a reunion with Jaylen Brown. They're in the other conference. Because to me, if you're going to trade Jaylen Brown, he's got to go west.
And then you add a star to Houston. That makes sense.
You get the probably 10th pick in the draft,
and you probably take a couple guys off their squad, young dudes, right?
So
not Dylan Brooks. You don't want to do that.
Jaylen Brown, it's West Coast, and it's for a haul. And he's 28. He's in his prime. They're saying he's not going to need surgery on this meniscus. I don't know if that's true or not, but he's still 28.
Jaylen Brown?
Yeah. He was playing hurt the whole playoffs. He was taking shots apparently just to stand up. This all came out the other day, by the way.
Oh, wow.
He was more hurt than they let on. So
meniscus can be a problem. I had an issue with mine
so the Celtics were banged
years.
up in the Orlando series because he's been hurt the whole playoffs. Unlike the New York series, when they went to the basket, that's why they took Orlando out in 5. If they had done that, they'd have taken New York out in 5 because Orlando was the better defensive team. So this is why Joe Mazzulla needs to go. If I'm Brad Stevens, the first thing I'm doing is replacing the coach. Now, you weren't here the other night.
Yeah.
But Brad Stevens did his usual, when the team.
I saw, I heard some of it on.
What a joke! What an embarrassment! I'm still mad about.
There was nothing from that presser that said he was going to get rid of Mazzulla either.
No, in fact, he was licking his ball sack.
Yes, and here's why though.
That's
I think
terrible.
That's sometimes these guys all have egos, man. So he hired Mazzulla. He's got to stay with it, right? At least for another year to see what happens, because Mazzulla's contract's not up, right? He's got him signed for a while.
They didn't extend him.
Well, they didn't extend him, so he's on
next year's his last year.
Got it. So that's good. That's
honestly, because the thing is, and again, I don't know if he's waiting for a certain coach or if he even has a coach in mind. But to me, you can't run it back if you're going to keep this team. Because the other thing you could do,
got Michael Malone sitting out there, not a bad coach.
He's available, and he's a disciplinarian, and he's a Worcester Academy guy.
Yep.
Masshole. To me, he would be the logical choice.
Yeah.
And I'd get him in here as soon as possible because the thing is, Boston, if they say they bring this group back, even without Tatum, this is a 50 to 55 win team. It is, if it's healthy.
If they drive to the basket and it's healthy.
If they change the
even
style,
if they don't have
if they
Tatum.
change the style of play.
Yeah.
Just change the style of play. Because you don't have to play this style. It's not sustainable, 1. 2, you don't have a guy named Steph Curry. So why are you playing it? Your best player isn't Steph Curry. Your second best player isn't Steph Curry. So why are you playing it? And again, it's all analytics. Well, the analytics are wrong. And here's how wrong they are.
Because they're in Cancun.
Here's how wrong they are.
Yeah.
Not only have they been wrong 2 out of 3 years, but their best player has gotten hurt as a result of it. Because Tatum went down 3 years ago and he went down in this series. And again, why am I saying that? Because that style, you end up playing more games than you need to because you're playing analytics, and it's rare that you can sweep an opponent unless that opponent is hurt. See, Indiana when Halliburton went down last year in the second game.
Yep.
If he doesn't go down, they don't sweep Indiana.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
So the thing is, this lends itself, and it's been Tatum twice. This is no accident. And Tatum's very durable. Tatum plays a lot. He's not a guy that goes down. This system right there, you add that onto it, and it's your best player too. This keeps happening.
Right, and that's
that's
why it's probably going to be hard to get rid of Brown, but they could get rid of him and
Brown
just
is the most. Brown and Derek White. I wouldn't get rid of Derek White. If you
nope. I wouldn't get rid of Pritchard, White.
Derek White to me is more valuable than Jaylen Brown.
He is.
He is. I keep him.
Well, you got to remember, Jalen's much more valuable in the trade market too, and you get rid of that $60 million contract.
He'll get first of all, he's making 20-something million more a year.
Yeah.
And he will fetch a bigger haul.
Yeah.
If it's the right match. And to me, I'm not saying I don't love Jaylen Brown, but look at this is where Rick Grossbeck is not being held accountable. And I'll say it. I said it before. I don't know if you heard this, but I'll say it again. When Jaylen Brown's contract came up, okay, he was eligible for this super max deal. All anyone had to do, and again, this is like why Donald Trump is in office. Just Google the question. What is the best offer an opponent could make for Jaylen Brown in this situation? It was $185 million.
Right.
Which means that Boston could have signed Jaylen Brown for $200 million, almost $100 million less, and they wouldn't be in this mess.
Or even 240.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
look, I said between 200 and 220, 230 max.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have paid him more than 230. But what's he going to be insulted if you offer him 200 when the best anybody could do is 185? What's he not going to take the extra 15 million?
yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, honestly, and
Massachusetts does they do tax there, right?
But they hadn't won a title. He's never won a league MVP, and suddenly he's going to be the highest paid player in the league, albeit for a year because Tatum was going to get the next one.
Yep.
And Tatum's a better player than him. He's never made All-NBA first team. He's never made All-NBA second team, I don't think. So how do you justify $295 million?
Right.
And then there's this shit, which is...
Who's his agent? You got a good agent?
I don't know who his agent is, but this is Rick Grossbeck dropped the ball on this, and that's why they're in this mess now. They shouldn't have had to break up this roster. But they did because they overpaid for Jaylen Brown. They overpaid for Jason Tatum, too, if we're being honest. But at least he's been All-NBA first team 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
I can understand and that. Now he's got a ring. Okay. That kind of makes sense. He's one of the 5 best players in the world. Okay. Jaylen Brown is not.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
He's not.
I agree.
So, I mean...
Damn good player.
Hell of a player.
Right.
He's an all-star. He's a Hall of Famer. He's got Hall of Fame numbers, credentials. He still can't shoot 75% from the foul line.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. He's a 2-guard? What the hell are you talking about? How's that possible?
But Houston's that's a great landing spot for him.
It
Phoenix
would be.
could be another landing spot because you could fleece some stuff from Ishbia probably.
Look, there are several...
I don't know
to
that
your
you'd
point,
get booked.
in the West,
but,
I can think of 4 or 5 teams that would love to add Jaylen Brown.
Oh, of course.
And then they have the money, they have the cap space to absorb the contract.
Yep.
So I'm not saying do it. I mean, you have to get blown away. It has to be a good offer. Because honestly, I still think they're better together than they are apart. And if you get the right coach, you can really turn these two into Jordan Pippen.
And you need him for next year. Otherwise, you're putting a lot on whoever you bring in.
Look, here's the thing. If you don't need him for next year, because Tatum's out,
Pritchett.
you're not winning a championship.
Right.
If you miss the playoffs next year, you got a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
If you were ever going to do this, Tatum's injury has given you the opportunity to do it. No one's going to be mad about it.
Right.
They understand it.
They're going to understand.
Yeah. So I'm like, if you're ever going to do it, now's the time to do it.
And let's be honest, you're the Bostonian, so who's more well-liked in Boston? It's got to be Tatum,
both
right?
loved.
They're both loved. Okay.
I don't think people want to see Brown.
And there's no division.
No one wants to see Jaylen Brown go, but if all of a sudden that lands you Cooper Flag, because here's the thing about this. Dallas has a 2 to 3 year window. You drop Jaylen Brown into that mix, that increases the window.
It does. And it's a better sell.
You put Kyrie, him, and Anthony Davis together?
And it'd be right on brand for Nico.
Yeah.
Because the obvious thing for him to do would be what he wouldn't do in that situation. The obvious thing is
the
just take
problem with
Cooper
Cooper Flag is that he's only 19 years old.
That's it. Right.
He's a couple years away from being that dude.
Yep.
And again, so he comes up and those two have aged out and they're gone. If you're going to win a title, it's now. Jaylen Brown is ready now. Mm-hmm. He's a Finals MVP. Now, you had a Finals MVP at 20, who's 28 years old.
Yeah.
To that group, Dallas is the favorite in the West next year. I'll tell you that right now.
You'd have Jalen,
Kyrie, and Clay.
Who would you take back though? Probably they'd probably take one of those guys back, right?
Young, probably Lively. Young, tall, athletic,
Lively, and then
the draft.
Wasn't there another guy that played for Boston already on that squad?
No, he's gone. Grant Williams is gone. He's been traded to Charlotte.
Yep. Grant Williams, yeah. No.
But the thing is, like, to me, people would be mad in Dallas again. But if you win a championship or 2, because you could win 2,
or even get close.
Oh, if these guys had stayed healthy, they'd have been close this year.
They'd have been close.
They weren't healthy.
Although I will say, Clay has not shown me even in the past couple of years. He had the one last year.
All he has to do is stand there and shoot threes.
Yeah.
And with Jaylen Brown and Kyrie, that's all he'd literally have to do.
And try to play defense, right?
He wouldn't even have to play a lot of defense.
Clay used to be a great defender.
And Jaylen Brown's a lockdown defender, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he adds 2 things.
And you got AD still.
Yep.
If he's not hurt.
Yeah. He'll
be in there swatting balls.
25 and 12. I mean, so I'm saying, like, Dallas to me makes a lot of sense if you want to win right now. Mm-hmm. And you've got a 2 to 3 year window. Jaylen Brown would extend that window probably a couple of years.
And I think Boston would give up Jaylen Brown and some number 1 picks.
No, Boston would get back a number 1 pick.
If they
You're giving up, first of all, you're giving up the player. You're going to get back a number one pick in a lottery. You're not going to give up a pick two. You're going to give Jaylen Brown.
Right,
and
right.
We want this guy. We want your first round pick. And if
Yeah.
you're Dallas,
You do it because
you can win right now. First of all, I don't care how dumb you are. You can't ignore it. He's a 28-year-old Finals MVP who plays both ends of the floor. Which, by the way, the guy you just got rid of, he kicked the shit out of him in the finals.
Yeah,
Luka.
He did cook Luka.
He cooked Luka on ball. He cooked him. In fact, he's the reason Luka got traded. For being honest, he is the reason Luka got traded.
Could be, yeah.
He exposed him.
All the other stuff didn't help.
No, but that
and
was
him,
that was
getting hurt didn't help.
To me, that was the kind of.
But if he was really hurt,
well, but think Boston's second best player shut your best player down. So I mean, I hate New York so much.
we got to talk about that in segment 2.
Anyway, all right. So he's got, not to go off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
Yep. So I got them both in 6. Knicks in 6. OKC in 6.
All right. So I get that. Okay.
But respect to the Pacers and the T-Wolves because 2 years in a row they've made the conference finals. They're both very close.
They're very close. And he'll be posting up. That's something that Jason.
And he's hitting threes too.
Jason
It's
Tatum
like I
should
said. It's just team of destiny stuff, man.
There's 9 minutes to go. It's game 1.
Look at how easy.
He worked on that. He didn't do that last year.
No.
So we will come back segment 2 talk about this, and again that will be that segment's going to be about what do you do when your team has been knocked out. Well, you bitch about it, which is what I've already done, and he hasn't bitched about the Lakers enough, but I'm sure he has a lot of things to say. We'll talk about that segment 2 coming right up.